sector is clear.
Give us everything we got! All wings.
Alright, what is up guys? As y'all can tell by the title, I, Maddie, will be discussing my thoughts on Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. If you want a spoiler-free review, I suggest you go watch Chris Stuckman. He is an amazing movie reviewer slash critic, and he spoils absolutely nothing in his review for this film. I'm going to leave a link to his video review of Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker in the description down below. Now that we have the spoiler formality out of the way, let's begin the discussion. I want to start by saying that The Rise of Skywalker is not a bad movie. Sure, it is a sloppy movie that really has to make up for the previous movie in the franchise, that being The Last Jedi, which I will discuss later. But I genuinely had a good time with this movie. So let me just start with the things that I do like about this movie, because it is a shorter list. So let's get started with number 1. As always, the music composed by John Williams is amazing. There isn't a single time in the film where I believe that the music did not meld well with what was happening on the screen. Character themes were extremely well done, especially the themes of the original cast, such as Leia, Han, and Luke Skywalker. The next plus is a little bit of an Easter egg, and maybe like you may have missed it. But in the beginning of the film, there is an alien that is giving a handoff of information to our resistance squad aboard the Millennium Falcon. And this alien just happens to be voiced by Mark Hamill. I'm unsure if it's something that was caught by most of the audience, but I know his voice from shows such as Regular Show, Adventure Time, and of course as Joker on the Batman the Animated Series. All in all, I thought it was a nice little Easter egg towards Hamill's voice acting career, and a job well done. Next, let's talk about the original cast. Let's start with Leia. Leia, who was played by Carrie Fisher, passed away before the release of this film, and you could tell that they had to do some computer magic to get her into this film. I'm not saying that it was necessarily a bad thing, however. Fisher's performance was very believable, heartwarming, and I'm glad that she got a proper screen send-off. I would have been extremely pissed off if she had gotten an off-screen death like Admiral Akbar did in The Last Jedi. Lando, who is played by none other than Billy D. Williams, makes a few cameos in this movie. And yes, I say cameos because he is pushed to the side in Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, which I don't think was the wrong move to make on J.J. Abrams' part. I love Lando, but you can tell that Williams was getting kind of old, as well as he wouldn't have been able to keep up with the newer cast of the film. But all the scenes that he appears in are amazing, and I'm glad to see the original Lando finally make his appearance in this new trilogy. Harrison Ford also makes a quick cameo in this film. Now, apparently this is one of the few things that leaked online before the movie released, but I was lucky enough to have zero information about what was going to happen in this movie. I avoided trailers, I avoided theorizing videos, and honestly, I was surprised with this movie. When Han Solo appeared with his son, Ben Solo, it really shocked me. I thought Harrison was completely done with this franchise, but seeing him here in this last film, especially with his amazing acting, which you could really tell that he was trying with this portrayal, and it almost got my eyes watering. Was tied up in a nice bow at for the end of his story. Anthony Daniels is always terrific as C-3PO. He plays that gold-plated droid in virtually every single appearance with C-3PO in it, like Star Wars video games, Star Wars shows, and of course the movies. So seeing him play this character one last time was a nice homey touch. And lastly, we must talk about Mark Hamill. It was obvious that he was going to make an appearance in this movie as a Force ghost, seeing as, after all, this title of this movie is called Rise of Skywalker. The one scene which he acts in is a much better representation of Luke than the one in The Last Jedi. I'm glad that director J.J. Abrams was able to fix/retcon that part of Rian Johnson's bomb of a movie, The Last Jedi, out of there. Now that we have talked about the original cast, let's move on to the newer cast, specifically the actors who portrayed Rey, Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, and Chewbacca. So, let's start with Daisy Ridley. Daisy Ridley was a fantastic actress in this film as Rey. This has got to be the greatest acting. She has done out of these 3 films, and I'm pleased to announce that I actually liked her character Rey in this movie. She isn't a Mary Sue like she is in the previous 2 entries, and she has genuine struggles with her past, her heritage, and with which side of the Force she wishes to ally herself with. Not once did I think that she was a Mary Sue or an overpowered character in this film. Actually, the first scene that she appeared in did make my eyes roll. It was when she was on this jungle planet and she was meditating while floating in the air, and she had these rocks floating around her and like she's some avatar who just triggered the avatar state from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And on top of that, her being revealed as the granddaughter of Palpatine was a total shock to me. This whole time, I thought she was going to be the daughter of Luke. But that also explains how she is so naturally gifted with the Force. So like in the previous movies where she's portrayed as a Mary Sue, this gives her a little bit of explanation of why she is the way she is. And I thought that was very well done by J.J. Abrams. I'm not sure if that was the original plan, but job well done there. Next, we'll talk about Adam Driver. Adam Driver in this film was perfect as the character Kylo Ren / Ben Solo. I didn't like him in The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi didn't really change my mind either. But seeing him vulnerable in this movie was very heart-wrenching. You can clearly see him struggling with the fact that he killed his father in this movie. And you can see that his mother Leia dying in this movie was the final straw for him returning to the light side. There are a few things that happened with him that I do not like though, but I will discuss that later in this video as well. And lastly, we're going to talk about Jonas, or maybe Jonas? I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. But his portrayal as Chewbacca is amazing as well. He previously played him, I know for a fact, in the latest Han Solo spin-off movie, but I'm pretty sure he played Chewbacca a little bit in the other films as well, or the newer films. For a character who can't speak, his actions and body language speak for him. When Leia dies, you actually see Chewie struggling with the news. By this time, he has lost 2 out of 3 of his best friends, and now he's lost the last one. Me and my buddy almost cried during this painful scene with Chewie trying to cope with this. And I had to say that Jonas did a fantastic job, and also the sound team did a great job putting together Chewie's grunts and roars the way that they did. The last good thing that I could think of for this movie, besides these great acting on everybody's part, is that scene with all the Jedi of the past reaching out to Rey towards the end of the film. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Windu, Yoda, Ahsoka, Luke, Kanan, and a few other Jedi I'm unfamiliar with spoke to Rey and lent her their strength. I love that scene, and it gave me goosebumps. Especially hearing, like, not old school, but prequel Anakin. Like, he's gotten a lot of bad rap for those movies, but hearing him in his voice in this part of this movie was very surprising and strangely like goosebumpy. Like, it was amazing. But now, however, we have reached the bad / sloppy side of my discussion on Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. For starters, let me state that Rian Johnson completely fucked up this trilogy. Pardon my language there, but I really hated The Last Jedi. It made Luke into a character that he never should have been portrayed like. The entire Canto Bight arc was a waste of time and could have been scrapped from the movie. How they killed Snoke in a non-climactic way. And on top, I can go on and on with reasons why I hate that movie and how it was a piece of garbage. But just know that that movie is why The Rise of Skywalker is mainly the sloppy mess that it is. For although everyone did an amazing job with their acting, and the team did a great job with the visuals, the story is all over the place. So let's go back. Let's just go back to Rise of Skywalker because this is the movie we're talking about here. I hate I hate I hate how they handled Snoke in this film. Apparently he was just some random experiment that Palpatine pooped out for some reason. It was a huge waste of potential, and if I was Andy Serkis, the guy who played Snoke in the other two films, I would be extremely pissed off with how they handled my character. Rian Johnson never should have killed him off in the second movie, and they should have fleshed him out much, much more. But instead, they had to quickly write in Palpatine into the story, so that the heroes had a quick baddie to defeat. Next up on my list is the light speed skipping mechanic they used at the beginning of the film. Look, JJ, I appreciate you fixing what happened in The Last Jedi, but enough with the light speed crap. The whole point of light speed is that you need to calculate where you want to jump before you jump into light speed. Otherwise, you might light speed into a planet or another solid object and explode. I don't know the physics of it, but it made zero sense to me and I hated it. Next up is the Anakin Luke Skywalker lightsaber. I was very confused on how Rey got it back. In The Last Jedi, it was completely destroyed. It was split in half, and it caused a huge explosion. But in this movie, it's all better. It's like boom, she has it right from the beginning. The movie never explains how they fixed it, so I guess I'll have to do it for them. Rey basically smashed these two halves back together and tapes them back off screen so that it's able to work again before the movie starts. They really couldn't have explained that they had to repair it. I don't know, maybe they did and I missed it. But this was bugging me the whole movie until it ended and I was able to look it up. And on top of that, they never explained how Maz Kanata in The Force Awakens found the lightsaber. I know it's not crucial to the story, but I'm sure some other audience members are curious as to how this 1,000-year-old lady found Luke's lightsaber. I don't know, maybe it'll explain in a comic or something. But until then, I need answers. I am confused. I need these answers. Next issue is the next issue is with a kiss between two characters. You already know who I'm talking about. This kiss comes out of nowhere and is unjustified. This kiss, I was thinking as Ben healed Rey and hugged her. Oh, gross! It almost looked like they were about to kiss, and 5 seconds later they did. I don't know. This is almost as bad as the Batman and Batgirl banging it out in the Killing Joke movie. It comes out of nowhere and it makes zero sense to me. Which brings me to Finn. I really like Finn in this movie. There aren't any sappy or cheesy scenes with him like in The Last Jedi between him and Rose. But there is one scene, however, where maybe it is a little bit cheesy. For example, he's sinking into this sand pit, and he almost confesses his love to Rey. But when they later find out that they're not dead, he pussies out and doesn't tell Rey that he loves her. I think that's what he was going to tell her. That's what's implied, anyways. But why include that scene if he isn't going to ever confess to her? And why have Rey and Ben kiss on top of that? It is just so Ben and Rey's romance is so unbelievable while Finn and Rey... Wait, no. Finn and Rey are believable, but Ben and Rey are not believable. That really bugged me. That got me out of the experience. Next up is the scene with Lando and his supposed daughter at the end of this film. It was supposed to be hinted, I guess, throughout the film that they are father and daughter, but it came off kind of creepy and sexual. JJ should have done a better job of dropping hints that she may have been Lando's long-lost daughter throughout the film, rather than having Lando act flirty to his maybe daughter. They don't even confirm it 100%. This is just some random lady, perhaps. Next one is of the scene I don't really like. Next is one of the scenes I don't really like. The next scene I don't really like is the scene with Rey on Tatooine. I'm curious to see how many other people were upset by this, but I don't believe that Rey deserved the Skywalker name at the end of this movie. Sure, she saves the galaxy from Palpatine, and she was trained by Luke and Leia, but all her training with Luke was worthless in The Last Jedi, and all her training with Leia was off screen before the movie starts, so you don't really see the connection between Leia and Rey. Why try and force Luke and Leia as parents when she clearly doesn't need parents? She could have been her own independent character. The rise of Skywalker should not have been Rey, but it should have been Ben rising from the dark side. Overall, though, I liked the rise of Skywalker. I may have sounded like I hated the movie when I was listing off the reasons why I dislike it, but that's only because I am so passionate about this franchise. I think that if you've seen the other two movies in this trilogy, then you might as well see this one. I actually need to go see this movie a second time, just to re-experience all the adventures that happened in this film and trilogy. I rate this movie a solid 7 out of 10. Thank you guys for listening to my rant about Rise of Skywalker. Let me know what you think of the film in the comment section below, and I'll see y'all next time.